Hey everyone, it is Professor Cinephile, and I am so happy to talk about this film. Today we're going to have a little bit of fun, quick and dirty, nothing too long. We are talking Final Destination 6. Okay, so I am solidly Gen X. I was very excited for this to come back, so I rushed to see it. Spoiler alert, I'll probably talk about a lot of things that happen in the film, so if you don't want it ruined, pause right now and come back. But if you want to know my thoughts on it before you go see it, keep going. All right, so hey everyone, solidly Gen X, and we are still traumatized from the first Final Destination films. It's really interesting because, like, whenever you have a series, right, you always wonder how are they going to keep it going? How are they going to, keep us interested? And this is one of those film series that just had us going back and back and back. And so we were definitely like plugged in, even though it completely traumatized the hell out of us. So the fun thing about this is that Final Destination 6 comes out 25 years after the original one, right? So that's like a little more than a whole generation. And it's funny because the first five came out like from 2000 to 2011. So it's been like 14 years since we've had a Final Destination film. And what that means is that there's a lot of people who are, old enough to go to the movies now, right? Who never had a Final Destination film. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the franchise, it is a horror film, and it's focusing on this idea that, basically death is all around you and that you can't escape death, right? And if you do happen to escape death, death is going to come collect, okay? So if, for example, you were supposed to die in a car crash, but you didn't die in the car crash, well, death is going to make sure you die somehow because your time is up, right? And so that's the premise for the film. And I always thought that that was a really like great premise for a horror film. One, because we're talking about this idea of death, but also because it's like de really delving into paranoia, right? Like anything around you could be the boogeyman, right? And the boogeyman, that main villain, that character has been, a cornerstone of horror films. And so now with Final Destination, they're like, the boogeyman could be that fork you just ate with, And so it was definitely a mind trip. So now I'll admit that I feel like the Final Destination franchise kind of went off the rails a little bit. I thought the first three were cool, but around Final Destination 3, it started being like, all right, what more are you guys going to do? But I will say that Final Destination 6 brings it back, right? It really brings it back home. And what they were really good at was kind of threading connections through all of them. Like, so people are connected in these different ways, which I love when film series do that. You think of A Nightmare on Elm Street, although number two had, I mean, we were just like, what? We all agree that Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was like the worst one. Okay, good. So I like when that, or like you think about the Halloween series, right? Always really tying it back to this family and this guy. So Final Destination 6 really kind of brings it back and then ties a lot of things together. Do they need to do another one? No, they don't. They actually can just end this series right here, 25 years of Final Destination, and we're good. Okay? I had to adjust my lighting. So one thing that Final Destination is known for is having amazing kills, right? That's really the whole fun of it. And I'm going to say I was in the theater with other folks and we laughed throughout the entire thing. This, to me, this is one of the funniest series because the way people die, it's just like it's the most ridiculous, outlandish things ever, right? So it had some really great kills. The film starts with like this whole scene. It's this whole build up. And if you know the series, you know what's going to happen. You know that somebody is having a premonition. And that's really what the film series was about. It was like, okay, people had these premonitions that predicted that people are going to die. And because of those premonitions, they were able to save people. So that's pretty much, how this starts out as well. And then it cuts to this younger woman, Stephanie. She's in school. She has this moment because she keeps having these nightmares. She can't dream, she can't sleep. And so the nightmares are actually of that event that happened. Okay. What we later find out is that it was her grandmother who was the person that had that premonition in that opening scene, and she was able to save everyone's life, right? And so they kind of get into how like the family doesn't really talk to grandma because grandma pretty much went crazy. And if you remember from the other films, people become really obsessed with cheating death, and so it can really drive you crazy. So that's kind of what happens there. And then we find out that her own mother kind of left their family because she had been traumatized by the mother, and she started realizing that she was turning into her mom, becoming obsessed, seeing death everywhere, and she didn't want to do that to her kids. She wanted them to have a good life. So what I really liked a lot of the kill scenes. Oh my gosh, I think that they just kind of took it up a notch. And I say that as somebody who loves the Saw films. I love the grotesque scenes of the Saw films. So I was ready. I was like, what is Final Destination 6 gonna bring? You gotta top everything from 5 movies, yo. And I think that they did. I think that they really kind of handled those kill scenes really good. Like they were so gross. Like one dude gets his like face lawn mowed off, and another woman gets trapped in like what you call it, the sanitation truck, and gets like her face gets like sliced in half. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. So you definitely are gonna get some good kill scenes. What I liked the diversity in this. We saw a situation with an Asian father and a white mother, which you don't often see in like major films like this. And then the people that they cast, at least I know one of the brothers, one of the actors is half Asian and half white, but they cast people that look like they could be biracial, and mixed with Asian and white. So I thought that that was pretty cool. Interesting family dynamics, couple of Chads or what have you. It's a lot of stuff going on, but it's really a family story. And these people finally come together because they finally realize, like, yo, people are dying, like in really weird ways. And so Stephanie, she goes to actually visit this grandmother. Grandmother has been collecting all these books, all the articles. She put them all into a book, basically tracking everybody who was in this first scene. And this might, if I'm not mistaken, this is the biggest like premonition that they've had in the whole series. I mean, we're talking dozens of people. And so she has spent her whole life in this like secluded kind of cabin where she's been like evading death this whole time, but she's been researching, she's been putting things together, tracking it, everything. She gives that to Stephanie. She's like, look, just read this. And Stephanie's like, I don't want nothing to do with this. This is crazy, whatever. She's like, you don't believe me? Okay, cool. So she steps outside and she's just like, watch, boom, 30 seconds later, death is, she's dead. It was crazy. It was crazy. I was like, I love it. I love it. So I think you're gonna definitely enjoy this. If you liked, I think the first two, you'll feel like there's that connection. And then, my favorite part of this, and definitely what was motivating me, outside of the fact that I love series like this and I kind of grew up on it, is that Tony Todd was in it, and this is his last performance. For those who are unfamiliar with Tony Todd, he played Candyman. He has voiced several characters. Iconic, iconic. I was having this conversation with somebody, and I was like, I really can't think of anybody off the top of my head who has actually appeared in more horror films and has like lent his voice to more things than Tony Todd. And so he passed away. And they said that the last thing that he said on the screen, and I won't ruin that for you because I want you to have the emotional impact, but they just said that it was improvised. And it's kind of like he knew that this was his last film that he was going to do. And he had been woven throughout the series as well, right? So now we learn how he was a part of this whole Final Destination thing, and he kind of makes reference to it. He's like, there's been many people that have come to me for help over the years, et cetera, et cetera. But now we see where it all began. And that's what I really like about this, is that it kind of gives you the origin story of Final Destination, how all of this, all the whole thing really got set off. And though they didn't make the direct link, I'm assuming that each of the films were following people who were somehow in the line of all those people that were supposed to die. And so I think that that was a neat tie-in. I'm gonna give Final Destination 4 hearts, and I'm gonna recommend that you go see it. If you love gory horror, if you love death and really disgusting death scenes, if you can find that funny and find the humor in it. I mean, it was funny because that's one of the things that Final Destination, it is so ridiculous that you can't help but laugh. So if you want that, cool. If you're not big on like people dying in really disgusting ways, then you want to skip this film. If you're a fan of the franchise, you will probably think that this is probably the better, one of the better ones. I would put it right after number one, in terms of the second best one. So go see it. Have you seen it? Drop your comments, and I would love to know what you thought about it. If you are new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please like this video, share it with folks. If you are not new to this channel, but you've been here for a while, thank you. Really appreciate your support. And we're going to have more of it coming. I got my AMC A-list back, and we're going to be back in the theater this summer, y'all. So I'm going to keep bringing the heat, and you all keep supporting. Thank you so much. And I'll see you soon.